Cool. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Yeah, it's like 10 after. I don't have a whole ton of stuff that
Mm.
we need to touch on specifically for this meeting, but I did kind of want to get a pulse, just starting out on feedback for using UA for the monthly meetups and see what people's thoughts were. So yeah, if you got a thought, feel free to jump in.
I like it. It's been the best audio quality we have had, both from UA, from Anchorage and Juno. And I really like from UA, I don't really need a coordinator. I can just like pull your room in, and I guess that's the advantage of using a UA Zoom account, is I can just force rooms to join my call.
That's really cool. Yeah, and I noticed that was one thing I was really excited about, was like the AV was just handled. We didn't have to think about it at all. Like we just showed up and you were already connected and ready to go. So that was super cool.
That was also one of the feedback we got a bunch of on things we could do better in the developer survey, was get AV issues handled. So if that fixes that problem, I think that's going to be as good as we're going to get. Wow,
that's really cool. Yeah, Arsh, how difficult is it actually to like dial into a meeting room? Is that pretty easy to do?
Yeah, since it's all in the UA system, I can just call into a room, and then I can just look up a room, and if it's there, I can just say, yep, dial in.
Cool. Would you be able to write up some just like basic instructions on how to do that for us in case you're not available?
Yeah, I think Zoom has instructions, but I can, I could make something of my own.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be awesome. And then, yeah, we can just store it in the repository for all the Dev Alliance knowledge. Hey, Dan, what did you think about doing it in Juno?
Last month was pretty nice. It was our first kind of get together where we all got together, and we got great audio from both Anchorage and Fairbanks. So yeah, I like it. And we've got a bunch of different classrooms we can use. So UAS is great.
Yeah. What about like location or anything? Was it better or worse than doing it at the co-working space, or what are your general feelings there?
Yeah, I never made it to the co-working space, but it's tough to say. There's more people in the valley. There's more people close to UAS, so I think that's probably advantageous. Yeah, for me, it's kind of equidistant, so it's fine. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
It was a good location.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. If nobody else has anything about that, it sounds like it's a pretty good call to keep doing it at UA. I know, so Bradley is actually working on opening up another space. I know he wanted to say a few words about that as well.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. So there's a spot down in Ship Creek that's a neighborhood in Anchorage, for those of you who are not from here. It's a short distance from the boardroom, about 4 minutes up the creek. It's an industrial space. If anyone's familiar with Anchorage Community Works, they were a former tenant there. And we've got room for between 80 and 90 people in the community side of the space. I just set up internet over there today, and we're getting AV installed. So it could be a pretty great space to do hackathons, social gatherings, things of that nature. Pretty much anything where we don't have to have, a solid video link to enjoy. But on the other hand, like, I think it could work potentially for hackathon down the road, and to link in with Fairbanks and get a comparable sized space for us all to be in. So that's on the horizon. Just stay tuned. Anybody in Anchorage who wants to see the space, like, reach out to me and come down and take a look. But hopefully we can get some events going on there and kind of diversify the sorts of spaces that we're in for Dev Alliance.
Cool. All right. So moving on to the next thing, I am really stoked at the progress we all made from the leadership retreat. And we touched on it at the very end, but we basically were making that transition from sort of high level vision to strategy or to like applying our strategy and direction. And so I wanted to circle back and see if there was a time where we could sort of get together for like 2 to 3 hours one afternoon before the end of February and just sort of finish out that really tactical, practical, who's doing what, where are we putting these efforts in, what are our dates and deadlines for doing stuff, and just sort of hit that rubber meets the road. So what do you guys think the best way to do this? Would you like me to set up a doodle poll, or, I mean, we only have a handful of people here. Adam Link is literally walking into my office, so now we're up to 3. Yeah, what are people's availability loosely for the rest of the month?
Camera set up for this.
My afternoons are like really free. So like anytime after 1, any day, I'm done. I'm free.
Melanie, what's your schedule like?
I'm pretty free before the end of February, but it would have to be before the 3rd of March. So
Okay.
it's hard. Tuesday nights I have a thing, but otherwise it's sporadic. So if you have a few dates you could throw out in a poll.
Yeah, do people like weekends or weekdays better, just generally?
I think I would vote for a weekday if possible, because usually I do things on the weekends.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, second that.
Yep.
All right, well, this is pretty easy. So we basically have after 1 p.m. any weekday before March 3rd.
Yeah, my only thing would be before 5:30. Before 5 would be great.
Okay, so what if we say like 1 to 4:30 one day? Does that work for people?
Sure.
Works for me.
Okay. Let's see.
Fridays are easiest for me to manage that much time during the workday.
Okay.
Just to get tactical after work.
Cool. All right. So that gives us some pretty good parameters.
So 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. on the weekday for me, I have work until 4 p.m. and I can't really do anything else except that.
Okay. So that's a no-go.
Yeah.
What times would work for you, Vince?
Well, like after 4 p.m.
Okay. Is anybody opposed to that, or can you only do until 5:30, Adam?
Thursday, Friday, I'm open or whatever. So yeah, I can get after 4 o'clock.
Okay. So what's that?
Is it this Friday?
No, we're kind of loosely coming up with parameters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. So what if we were to do the 21st from like 5 o'clock to 8? I know that's a Friday.
Fine with me.
Yeah, that works with me.
Sorry, Jeff. This is Friday 1 to 4.
No, Friday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. The
And
21st.
what's this for?
So this is basically, at the leadership retreat, we were really focused on high level stuff. This is like the practical, like who's doing what are our efforts, like what are our objectives that we need to get done, like really, really hands-on stuff.
I guess turning that board we have with the sticky notes, turning it into lists and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, that brings up something I want to talk about. We have pictures of all that stuff. Do we want to document it somehow, like either on Git or like on a Google Drive or something?
Are you can you give me some more, like in general, yes, but can you give me some more idea of what you're thinking?
Yeah. So we made the timeline. We spent way too much time on figuring out who we represent. So like actually documenting that so people know who we represent and what our timeline is, and the sort of just documenting the what, why, and how that's not a picture.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd be willing to take the lead on sort of getting a first draft of that stuff out the door. I took a bunch of notes after the leadership retreat, but as soon as I got back to Anchorage, I was promptly swarmed with work stuff. So I'm happy to take the lead on sort of memorializing some of that stuff, and maybe we can just briefly go over what that looks like, but not make that the focus of our meeting on the 21st.
Yep. Awesome.
Okay.
I have a commitment on sorry, I had to check 3 different calendars. I have a commitment on the 21st in the evening.
Okay.
How about the 20th, Thursday?
I can do the 20th.
That works for me.
Works for me.
Let's make this easier. Is there anybody it doesn't work for?
I cannot guarantee my availability on the 20th, but I don't know.
So it's a strong maybe from Adam.
So why don't we maybe make that tentative on the 20th until we find that out, and then I would also think, Jeff, if you could come up with a shot, just kind of an agenda over the next week or so, so we're all on the same page as what the desired outcomes are.
Yep, absolutely.
I could also do the 19th or Monday that week.
So the 10th.
No, 17th, 19th, or 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just do the poll and just it'll be easier.
Yeah.
I'll make a poll. I've never made one.
Okay, perfect. It's super easy. So
We'll see about that.
Great. All right. Well, Melody's making the poll. I'd say we've pretty much touched on that. Adam, you want to say a couple words on our financials?
Yeah, sure. I can certainly do that. So we basically have a backing of Launch Alaska, right? As all of you know, for long-term capital. We have a working capital fund that we use on PayPal. So right now we have about $1,000 in that PayPal account and about $1,000 coming in reimbursements from the leadership retreat. So about 2,500 or so in working capital with some rounding errors in there. So the current process for reimbursements is if you are spending money on behalf of the Dev Alliance, send the receipt to me through Slack or email if you have my email. Slack works just fine as well. I will reimburse you funds through PayPal, and then we submit the expense for reimbursement to Launch Alaska. So if anyone's planning on spending more than $1,000 in the next 10 days on behalf of the Dev Alliance, please let me know. In general, if you are going to spend more than a couple $100s, please let me know beforehand just to make sure we're able to get you a timely reimbursement. And also probably approved expenditures over a couple $100s. If you're spending that much, you should have a reason. One of us should know why. But like pizzas, 50, $100, whatever for the meetings, just shoot those to me afterwards. It's fine.
Cool. And thanks again for that, Adam. I feel like we have come so far in 9 months for getting people reimbursed for pizza that it's not only sped everything up, but it seems like it's working the best it ever has. So much appreciated. It's always kind of funny how much effort I guess money takes in non-profit organizations.
Right.
Hey, Jason, welcome. We're having a board meeting. We fellow Dev Alliance member Jason is here. Cool.
For interrupting.
Yeah, no worries. We'll be done in like 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, you gonna be around?
I was just heading out.
Oh, okay.
But, I was just going to say hi before I left. So.
Okay, cool, man.
Right,
Yeah,
see you
I'll
guys
call you
later.
soon. Cool. So I guess the last thing was just the February meetup. So Bradley at the Dev Alliance leadership event said that he was interested in stepping up and taking over the programming. And so him and I have kind of been working together on building out that pipeline and transitioning stuff over. So we're still in the middle of the handoff, but yeah.
Yeah, so effectively going forward here, we've got 3 events queued up over the next 3 months. I guess for January, we were going to let people explain projects they're working on.
Yeah.
That was already in the pipeline. And then next month, we're going to actually have a conversation with Pradeep on Friday, but he was going to be here next month, correct?
So yeah, there's a guy that I've been emailing with back and forth, and we've been trying to find time. We don't quite know what he's going to be talking on. It sounded like he was a bit more technical, but we were thinking for February. There were some people interested in talking about like what their personal projects were, and so we thought that would be a good time to kind of re-involve the community. Reinforce kind of this, bootstrapper, like take your projects and run with them mentality. And then also be a good time to sort of talk to the Alliance about, the results of our developer survey and get that out into the public. I think that's, yeah, go ahead.
So the event, actually, Dave Beckberger and I had a great conversation about newsletter this coming month. And what we were kind of running with was taking into account the feedback people had around industry. And I know we haven't gotten to unpack the leadership retreat yet, but there was a great dynamic in the afternoon about who is Dev Alliance, who is that community being served, and kind of coming around to what software professionals are and what we're asking for. Being able to bring into, connection, especially for students coming out of UAA and UAF, industry connections, and bringing together a group of people that have that industry background. So no details specifically yet on that, but that's the idea that Dave Beckberger and I were chasing around, and looking forward to some input on that since we're still a couple of months out. Because I think in doing this, I want to make sure that we're shaping the upcoming events for what our community of members and core members want to see, rather than kind of filling up a pipeline of 6 to 8 months down the road. We try to take a lot of time and effort to understand what this community wants and needs. So please, reach out to me if you guys want to see a certain kind of meetup. Especially over the summer when things are quiet and we tend to shut down. So be thinking about that and let me know.
Yeah. And I think that brings up another great point is that, as far as finding speakers, I think when we were really getting started, it was just a matter of like, who is there? And now that we're having this discussion about who we're serving, this provides a great opportunity to think about, where we're leading the community in the talks that we're having and the technologies and, how we're involved with the community. And so I think that's, one of our next big opportunities as we continue to grow. So I'm actually really happy that this conversation is happening in the public for the first time. So thanks, Bradley. Yeah. So that's all I had on the agenda. Besides, figuring out when we could actually get in person to meet up, and those of you in Fairbanks, obviously, will make it work, and Juneau to zoom in. Does anybody have any last things they'd like to bring up? Any pressing issues?
So the next meeting we'll have from that 4 to 8, we'll discuss how we're going to be putting those task placements with the task system and all that. Yeah,
absolutely. And, I think if anybody has any ideas on project management software, we might be at a point where it's worthwhile starting to look into that so we can all coordinate. There's a lot of nods, but not a lot of enthusiasm for a specific tool. So if anybody has a tool that they particularly like and know that they don't have an easy time checking in with regularly, I'm open to ideas, and I have no strong opinions.
Mine would be Trello and Asana. I really like those two a lot.
Okay.
But I hear that Monday is pretty cool too, but I haven't checked that out.
Okay.
Jira integrates.
I'm gonna just go ahead and veto Jira. But nice. Of course, enterprise guy over here.
I would second Monday. I think it's like task management brought to SaaS correctly is my line on Monday.
Yeah, we've used Monday before, and I would agree with that.
Okay, cool. So loosely, we'll take a look at Monday and see what that would look like. Just do we know like pricing specs on Monday? Is it per user?
Up to a point. I think the free plan is pretty generous, up to a couple dozen users or something. But yeah,
I don't remember pricing off the top of my head.
Okay, yeah, we'll take a look at that. Cool. Any other pieces?
I can ask this on Slack as well. This is Dan.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if anyone has any contacts with WASPN or Office of Information Technology of the state. We're just trying to do some outreach here in Juneau, and I can also ask on Slack as well.
Is this OIT from UA statewide?
Oh, okay. No, I was thinking of the state of Alaska, the state government, OIT.
I don't have state government, but I have the school district. What exactly are we looking for? I could try reaching out.
I'm just looking for people to invite to the Juneau meetups. That's all. Just people to reach out to.
I can try reaching out to OIT for UA statewide if that's something interesting.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. So are your main thoughts just looking at how to grow participation in Juneau?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, last time we had 3 people, and I think there's a lot more people who would come, but they don't know about it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something we'll touch on at the upcoming meeting a bit. One of my main takeaways was understanding how marketing has been a sort of a separate but untalked about thing within the organization. So we haven't really talked much about the personas of who the group serves. And this has come up a lot in side conversations, but I think it ultimately comes down to a marketing issue. Is, the students don't necessarily know what's in it for them to participate in the Dev Alliance. And if you look at most of our current participation, it's all people who I would say are, between 25 and 35 and most likely single, or no kids rather. And so, as we dive into that, I think some of this discussion that will help figure out, how we can get more people involved will be around sort of those personas of showing value and why participation is good. And I would imagine, and we could be totally wrong here, but most of the business in Wasserman is probably, mid 30s professionals, and they might have families and things, and it makes it hard to participate. But that's definitely a segment that I would love to explore further, because my hunch that I have absolutely no data to back this up is just that there are a lot more, family, professional technology people in Juneau than maybe the 25 to 35 non-family people.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Sorry, I'm going to interject. So if we are looking at how to get more students, there's one important question we have to ask ourselves is they're going to spend 3 hours, and what do we provide that they will gain staying with us versus doing homework for those 3 hours? So if you're thinking about it, so that's a really crucial question to figure out.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep. I completely agree. And honestly, like, I think what's interesting about this topic specifically is not that we necessarily need to change that much. It's just that we need the message to each of those demographics to line up. So the students, are going to be going there for networking opportunities and finding other professionals and working on soft skills, whereas the 25 to 35, maybe mid-career or remote workers are looking for socialization and learning about new technologies, or hearing about people's side projects, or finding people to work on side projects. So it's about figuring out, what are those personas, and then how are we engaging with those personas for each specific demographic. Not that we necessarily need to change what we're doing. And so I think that's one of the topics I would like to cover. And I actually don't think it's like this huge amorphous thing. It might just be like we've never actually put in any intention into figuring those things out and then crafting messages for each of those groups.
Yeah, I concur. I think it's just a matter of crafting the messages and the content that we already have. And then also, like we do have all the meetups and things are on YouTube. So those who can't participate because of timing issues, it would be good to get the word out about that. So
yeah, and honestly, I think you bring up an excellent point that it seems like we have a healthy constituent that goes out afterward, and it's like if you can't make the talk, like feel free to join up, and here's like where people will be afterward. Because I think maybe for some people they have to work late or whatever, or 7 o'clock's a weird time, but maybe 9 o'clock works to go and meet up with people and just socialize when fellow programmers or people in your scene are around.
Especially if you have kids, 7 o'clock is about the worst time of night because it's right between dinner and bedtime.
Yeah, absolutely.
That being said, Adam, I'm going to ask for $100 to spend at the pub next week.
Okay.
yeah, I'm going to ask for that too, Jeff.
Okay, Melanie, which pub? Are you going up to the Seven Glaciers, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'll also need some gas money.
Okay, all right.
Ski pass.
We'll figure that out. We'll get some funding for some after hours socialization. Cool. All right. Well, guys, we crushed it today. It's 5:36, so we have ample time. Does anybody have any last minute things?
No, I actually got to head out here. So
Perfect. Nailed it.
Thanks.
See you, Dave. All right. Well, if nobody else has anything, I think we're good to go. So Melanie, I'll fill out the poll you sent on Slack, and then we'll plan on getting together and hashing out some of the nuts and bolts of what our plan is moving forward this year.
All right, sounds good. Bradley, I'll sync up with you about the meeting next week so we don't have AV surprises.
Perfect.
That sounds good, Arsh.
All right. See you guys.
Just a question
Thanks,
for you.
Jeff.
Yeah, what's up, Melanie?
Do you always meet up at the boardroom for these board meetings?
No, so in fact, this is just a weird scenario. Like, I wasn't gonna be at the boardroom today, and then Adam and I were gonna meet, and then Bradley happened to be here, and we were talking before the board meeting. And next thing you know, there's several people in my office.
Just moved to the conference room.
Yeah. If people would like to meet in person, I'm happy to we can get a conference room and just host them at the boardroom. That's totally fine.
Okay. Well, I'm curious if I missed a Slack or something, because it would have taken me all of 2 minutes longer to drive to the boardroom.
You're missing the happy hour beer, Melanie.
That's okay.
I'm going to take this off the record real quick, and then, all right, hold on. It's going to interrupt you because Zoom.
Yeah, sure.